I'm about to mention the one thing that always seems to ruffle the internet's feathers, and that's when I refer to my house as a smaller house. So here's the thing, my home is not tiny by any means, but it is considered small by American home standards. I live with my husband who works from home full time, and we have 3 children, and our house is 1,100 square feet, which is about 900 square feet less than the average home in America, and we have about 1 kid more than the average family size in America. So I'm not saying my home is so tiny. Whether you think that is a small home or not, I feel like it's beside the point, but whenever I tell people the size of my home, they always are surprised because they're like, wow, I would have thought it was bigger than that. And I do think that's because I have found pretty good ways to maximize my space without feeling like it is totally bursting at the seams. And thus I have justified my ability to create today's video sharing some of my favorite small home hacks that I use for organization and storage in my home, whether you think it is small or not. First and foremost, the most important thing that we do in our smaller home is we try to be really diligent about the stuff that is in our home. Like every single person, obviously extra clutter gets into our home, and we have seasons of life where our home is more cluttered than it is not. But when you only have so much space, it gets cluttered a lot quicker, a lot faster, and when it is cluttered, it feels a lot more cluttered. You start to get that bursting at the seams feeling a lot faster. It's actually one of the things I like about not having a super big home. We have to be really mindful about the stuff that we have because there is only so much space. Something I've shared with you guys that I do a lot is that I have become a daily declutterer. I'm somebody who will declutter something every single day, which maybe sounds really drastic, like I'm getting rid of so much stuff, but I'm saying like I'll go into my junk drawer and I'll organize and declutter it. And maybe there's just a couple things in there. I'm picking one small area of my home to attend to every single day, which I think is a really great habit to have, whether you have a small house or not, because there are a lot more ways in which things enter our home and a lot less ways that they then exit our home. And we kind of want to make the entering and the exit equal so that we don't end up with too much stuff. So a daily declutter is a really great way to do that. It really teaches you to think about literally every single item that you have and whether it's worth having or not. And I think that's why I create so much sort of like decluttering and organization type content on this channel, because over time I've really just had to learn how to be a lot more mindful with my stuff, because I don't ever want the stuff in my home to feel like it is controlling me. I always want to feel like I have control over it. I am not a minimalist by any means. I've told you guys this 1 million times, but I am mindful, extremely mindful of the stuff that is in my home. One of my favorite ways to describe how I decide to keep stuff is I look at my stuff as an employee. If you watched my videos before, you have heard me say this, but I always think of it this way. If you hire an employee, you pay them a certain amount of money, and that money that you pay them, you hope then benefits your company in an equal or more way, and your stuff needs to be sort of the same way, except you're paying your stuff in time. So I always ask myself, is the time and effort that I'm spending to manage or inventory an item, am I getting the same payback from that item? Really easy example I could show you in my kids' playroom. My kids have magnet tiles. We have this big old bin of it. And sometimes at the end of the night, my kids and I are running around the house trying to find all the magnet tiles, put them away, and get them tidied up in the playroom. But the amount of time that my children play with magnet tiles is so much longer. They are one of our most used toys in our house. And so the time that it takes me to manage and inventory them is worth the time that I get from them. Another example would be maybe some toy I got that had like a ton of little tiny pieces, and my kids opened it and like they played with it for like 2 or 3 minutes, and the pieces were strewn everywhere and nobody ever played with it again. That item is not worth my time to inventory and to manage because my kids aren't really playing with it. They're not really interested in it, and inventorying it and managing this item with all these tiny pieces is taking me way too long. My second hack is multi-purpose furniture. I love furniture that can do multiple things for me, especially in a small home. So one of my favorite examples is our secretary desk. A secretary desk is great because we use it for basic storage, but it has a hidden desk in it. You literally can pull out a tabletop, pull up a chair to it, and now you've got a really great little sitting working space. Another example for multi-purpose furniture is a trundle bed. We have a trundle bed that we keep in the nursery of our house. Currently, that's where guests sleep if anyone's going to be sleeping over our house. It's not a very big space, so a trundle bed is a really great option because it allows me to have another bed hidden under the first bed. So when I need it, it's there, you know, the 1 or 2 times a year that we have 2 guests sleeping in that room. But the rest of the time, I don't have to take up valuable real estate housing a full or queen bed in this space. I feel like bunk beds are kind of the same. When we got my son his bed, we got him a bunk bed. Another example would be dining rooms that they're like expandable or have a leaf inside of them. Our dining room can expand to hold more people. On a day-to-day basis, we're a family of 5, and 3 of the kids are 5 years and younger. We don't take up a ton of space at the dining room dining room table when we're eating, but when I want to host something larger, it's really nice that I can stretch this out to make more space, or maybe my kids are doing a big arts and crafts project or whatever, but in my day-to-day life, I can push it down and make it smaller so it's not taking up as much space. Oh, our sectional sofa, yeah, there's a pull-out bed in there. I literally am always thinking, where can I make things expandable, multifunctional, add an extra bed, add an extra seat, whatever. One of the most important things that you need to do if you're organizing a small home, really you should do all the time, but especially in a small home, because your space is so precious, is you need to always be measuring and planning before you buy any organizational item. I can't tell you how many times in the past I've bought bins because they looked good, or they were on sale, or they were cute, or I thought they would work, and then they weren't the right size. And then I was left with unused, valuable real estate that I could be using to store stuff. Another really great option is to go for collapsible storage as well, so that you can pop it open when you need it, but that it can also be folded flat and easily stored without taking up a lot of space when you don't need it. This collapsible storage bin I actually got from QVC Plus HSN Plus, which is the sponsor for today's video, so let's take a quick break so I can tell you about them. If you haven't checked it out before, it is actually 100% free to stream. You just input your email and you get access to the entire platform. You can even stream this on any system that allows streaming. I like the show Things That Just Make Sense, which is a series that is really just like life hacks for organizing and maintaining your home. There are also tons of shows that you can binge watch, such as Feels Like Home with Preston Conrad. He gives a ton of helpful home tips, which are fun to watch during your next big home declutter. And the cool thing about watching from QVC Plus HSN Plus is they make it super easy for you to shop right from your device. You can purchase in-app with your remote or by texting a phone number, or there's also a QR code right on the screen that you can just scan to shop. If you want to check out QVC Plus HSN Plus for yourself and start streaming literally totally for free, like totally for free to watch all of these really great shows, you could click the link in my description box down below to start streaming and shopping today. All right, let's move into the kitchen. Now, we actually renovated this kitchen last year, so space-wise, it is so much more functional than it ever was. But prior to that renovation, I had lived in homes with very, very tiny, very unfunctional kitchens for like about 10 years. I mean, literally the house we rented before this had 2 cabinets in it. That's all that there was. In your pantries, I always suggest decanting stuff. This honestly saves so much space inside of pantries. I feel like sometimes you think logistically it won't, but it keeps things so much more organized and streamlined. It is a lot easier to sort of find what you need, to know when you're getting out of stock of stuff. Now let's go inside of some of the cabinets. Obviously, just like I mentioned at the beginning with decluttering, I am very mindful of my kitchen appliances. It's very hard because there are so many fun and cool and fairly useful kitchen gadgets that I feel like we can really justify needing all of them. But I'm constantly assessing and asking myself, I've had kitchen appliances or like kitchen gadgets that I really do like, but at the end of the day, when I'm asked myself if the amount of space they take up in my kitchen is worth the amount of time that I'm actually using them, sometimes the answer is no. And so I choose not to keep them because of that. Inside my cabinet drawers, I have these little magnets that you can hang. There's like a little adhesive piece, and I use this to store all of my teaspoons, all of my measuring cups. When I first bought this cup and teaspoon set, at first I was like, oh, I don't know if I don't like that they're sort of stacked and connected, because stacked and connected is really nice. I do have this stackable teaspoon set that I do really love because it stores really neatly in a drawer. But I will say, if you're somebody who cooks a lot and bakes a lot, it's really nice to be able to just quickly grab the cup or the measuring spoon that you need without having to fish through the other ones. But I love this magnet idea because I'm making use of unused space on the back of a cupboard. Another option obviously is hanging little baskets. I've done this lots of times, hanging baskets on the inside of drawers. You can buy over the drawer organizers that literally hang over the side of cupboard drawers and create a basket on the inside of them. You can also just DIY one. Literally get yourself a little basket, get yourself some little command hooks, and then you can hang these inside of drawers to make more use of space. And while we're talking about over cupboard door storage, just over door storage in general, maximizing this wherever you can be really, really helpful. I have an over-the-door laundry hamper that I use in my kitchen, which is really amazing because it's just really nice to have a place to throw dirty laundry downstairs. And the fact that this hangs on the back of the basement door, just using that unused space that wasn't used before. Another option is over-the-door hangers. Hanging some hangers on the back of doors. You can hang jackets, you can hang clothes, you can hang towels or whatever. Another hack that I love is utilizing corners. I feel like sometimes corners are these little spots of our house that often can get overlooked because you're like, well, what do I put in a corner, right? And this doesn't always work, but we actually had this corner in our dining room space that was just kind of wide open. We had a plant sitting there because it literally looked wide open without something there. And I realized it was a sneaky little spot that I could actually add some extra storage. Now, this dining room table is also where my kids do all of their arts and crafts. Right now, they keep all of their arts and crafts like over in the little play corner, which is fine, except we're like walking through the kitchen to get the arts and crafts, and like I'm constantly toting this stuff back and forth. So instead, I can utilize a little corner unit. I got this bad boy from QVC Plus, HNS Plus, by the way. I now have utilized this unused corner space and solved a sort of storage solution in my home of having to keep all our arts and crafts supplies on the other side of the house. One option I always love for smaller homes as well is to maximize some vertical space. If you have a home that has, decent height to the ceiling, sometimes something as simple as adding a shelf, maybe a foot down from the ceiling, can add some really great additional storage space that you didn't have before. I feel like it's this sort of little spot that a lot of us don't really think to maximize, and it's a really great quick solution. My final hack is to just really make sure that all the stuff in your home has somewhere that it belongs, and try to make the place that it belongs the place where it also is used. So I feel like a lot of us have heard, give everything in your house a home. And I do think this is really important, especially in smaller homes, because I do think it's sort of when everything you have has a home and now suddenly that home is too full, it very quickly will help you realize that you need to pare back whatever that is, or if that is completely impossible, you need to create some sort of new organizational structure. Thinking about storing the stuff where you're using it, like that example I gave you with arts and craft supplies. I knew that this was a problem for probably the last 6 months or so, especially since my kids have been so into arts and crafts. Literally every day I'm lugging all our arts and craft stuff over to the dining room table just to every night have to put it all back before we have our dinner. Another example that I like to share is I keep the bin that I use for my daughter's hair stuff in the kitchen, which doesn't really make sense, like hair supplies in the kitchen, but I do her hair while she's eating her breakfast in the morning. So it makes sense to store this right where I use it, because not only is it quicker for me in the morning to grab it when I want to do her hair while she's eating her breakfast, but it makes it 1,000 times more likely that I'm then going to quickly put it back where it goes when I'm done with it, instead of it sitting out and cluttering the space. Okay, one more tip to remember that this is your home where you live, and it doesn't need to be picture perfect. And this is a hard one. I honestly personally struggle with this myself all of the time. But an example would be, like I said, we have 3 kids, we have only 3 bedrooms, and my husband works from home full time. We don't have an office, so what do? 2 of our kids room share. The baby has his own room, and my husband has his office in our bedroom. It's not a big bedroom. It's maybe like 11 by 13. You look at it, and this is not picture perfect. This isn't like a really cool office inside of bedroom situation, but honestly, it works fine. All I ever go into our bedroom to do is get dressed and go to sleep. So essentially the bedroom's completely unused space from like 5:30 a.m. until 10 p.m. So why not put his office in here and make the most use of this space? I think sometimes we get caught up on thinking like we can't do something because that's not how it's usually done, or that's not how other people do it, but it's your space and you can make it work for you however works for you. All right, my friends, that does it for today's video. I hope that I gave you a few good solutions for organizing in your home, whether your home is small or not small. As always, thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Remember to be kind to yourself and to others, and I will see you all in my next video.